Well, my name is Cameron Hughes. I'm a journalist and reviewer for January Magazine and the Rap Sheet and various other publications. I have critically acclaimed Christopher G. Moore here, author of the Vincent Calvino PI novels, and we're just here to have a short little interview about politics and writing. Now,
good to be here, Cameron.
Thank you for coming. Now, why would an American PI, a lawyer, go to Bangkok?
Very good question. The first book in the series, Spirit House, has the backstory where Vincent Calvino had a friend at the time who was a Thai student. The Thai student ended up involved unfairly with a Chinese triad. And Vincent, through his family connections and others, were able to block the triad from causing harm to this Thai student. As a result, the triad took revenge by setting up Vincent in such a way that he became disbarred.
Okay.
So his friend said, why don't you come and spend some time in Bangkok? So he went to Bangkok and ended up getting into private investigations with a first case, and his friend then became a police officer and ultimately a colonel in the Royal Thai Police Force. And so the two of those people, through 10 books, have been solving crimes in Southeast Asia.
But it's a PI character by nature goes against the system, and Bangkok has a worse one than most do. How would he survive? I mean, his friend's job isn't stable forever.
Sure. But you know what? Private investigation work often, if you have a one-man shop, what you're doing is you're looking skip tracers, people who've left with credit cards behind, who want investigations of girlfriends, of wives, of children, employers who want investigations of employees. So there are a number of foreign private investigators who work in Bangkok, so it's not a stretch to have one there.
Do you know any?
I do. I know a number of private eyes.
Are they American?
One of them is an American. One of them is a New Zealander. Another is Australian.
And I read in doing a quick little research on you, just to be more ready for this, one literary snob offhandedly said you're not just in Chandler territory writing off such a great American author, but obviously you love Chandler.
I like Chandler very much. I think Chandler set the path.
But who are your other influences? Because you're not Chandler Glow.
No, I'm not. I don't think that there's one person I could point to and say that was the predominant influence. There's some people that I like. I like James Cromley, we talked about before. I like the Richard Stark novels. Some of the novels set in my part of the world is an influence would have been Graham Greene's The Quiet American, Paul Thoreau's St. Jack, Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which are kind of defining novels about people from the outside of a culture trying to make their way and keep their identity inside of a new culture.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But tell me, why third person though?
I see third person as opposed to say first person. First person, in a sense, puts you a little bit in a locked room because you can never get outside the point of view of that person. I mean, you can, I guess, in theory, do multiple points of view, each in the first person, but maybe I'm not clever enough to have mastered that. With the third person, I'm able to shift points of view more easily. I'm able to do setups more easily and to bring in cultural material that seems to be more organically part of the story. It's not as self-conscious for me. I mean, I've written some first-person novels, but I don't, by and large, do that.
What keeps Calvino in Bangkok? He could be a PI anywhere.
He could be a PI anywhere. I think what keeps him there is once you start a career somewhere, you tend to create a network of relationships, and those relationships tend to make you comfortable, you know what you know kind of thing. So yes, he could take off and relocate in Jakarta or Manila, but he doesn't. But he solved crimes in Phnom Penh in Cambodia and in Saigon in Vietnam. So two of the books are set outside of Thailand in the region.
All these places have very dark pasts too.
They do have a dark past, and it lends itself to the hard-boiled noir tradition to go into a country, say Cambodia, which had the terrible period during Pol Pot, so many people killed. And I did that in a book called 0 Hour in Phnom Penh, trying to capture a bit of what was the aftermath of that trauma for the people in the country.
Now, Chandler wrote that the PI has to be a lonely man, unlike anybody else, but still a common man. An American in such an Asian country, I mean, this is different from any other Asian country. Was that intentional?
I think it was intentional, and Chandler is right. There is a kind of a convention for the private eye. The private eye is not someone who lives in the suburbs, who has a wife, 3 golden retrievers, and a couple of children that he's driving to international school.
It doesn't.
That's a different kind of story. It doesn't work in the milieu of the hard-boiled tradition.
There needs to be heartbreak.
There needs to be heartbreak.
There needs to be sorrow. A PI can never totally win. He has to have some losses, even when he wins.
I think that's right. And there's always in the background a threat. Sometimes it's direct, sometimes it's implicit, but you know he's under pressure. And that the threat usually is one of violence, either to him or to his client or someone around him.
You yourself, you were not born in Bangkok, you went to Bangkok.
Yes, I did.
Why?
I went there first in 1983, the first time, because I had a friend who was in Bangkok, invited me to go there, so I thought a couple of weeks would be an interesting time. And it was absolutely spectacular. This vibrant expat community, an incredible culture, history, language. I thought, I'd like to go back and do a book there one day. In 1988, I went back and started the first of the Calvino books.
What keeps you there?
What keeps me there is I haven't come anywhere close to exhausting the material. A writer like a coal miner needs to be next to the coal face.
Because, Asian history is so much older than American history.
It's absolutely.
You could mine it for decades.
It's a lifetime work.
And the political system is just so much different from us.
It is a very different political system because the history and the culture make it a very different tradition.
The monarchy is so much stronger than in other countries like England that still have a monarchy.
Yes, it is much stronger.
What is it like living under that?
Well, I think, day to day, life in most places in Southeast Asia, it depends on what you want to do, where you want to go, and the kind of people around you. I mean, if you want an overt political life and to participate politically, Southeast Asia is probably not the place for you, quite frankly, because politics tends to be domestic wherever you are. I mean, the Americans have their politics, Canadians, we have our politics, Australians, the Thais, and most countries do not welcome kind of outside critical appraisals of their systems, and they tend to be sensitive to that. I think maybe Americans might be less sensitive if someone would go to their country and say, well, I think your Constitution doesn't work so well, why don't you do this or the other? And their tradition is more open to that kind of dialogue, but that is not universally the case around the world.